and welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Albers, and today I have Kim Lawler with me. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Michelle. Good to be here.
I'm excited for this conversation today, but I'm going to try not to be too excited in that I'm going to drop in and set an intention for the day. And if you want to add to it, feel free. My intention for today, I'm actually really want to be present and lean into hearing what your book is about. Because when you said you had a book, I was like, oh, I'm all in. I want to hear all about it.
Oh, good.
So that's where I'm at.
I love
Anything you
that
want to
intention.
add?
um, no, I think that was perfect. Thank you.
Beautiful. Can we start with the title of your book?
Yes, it is As We Sage, a woman's guide to reclaiming spirit, wisdom, joy, and magic beyond midlife in turbulent times. Um, and
That sounds like it came from somewhere.
yes, absolutely. I wrote it when, well, I just wrote it this past year, but the idea of it began when I was having a very difficult time. Say, it was like the pandemic was in full swing, and our lives had changed a bit because of the political situation in our country. And I was feeling hopeless, anxious, depressed. I was feeling like an atheist, and I have not felt that way in my entire life. So I thankfully had a spiritual awakening, which brought me back to feeling way better and to wanting to write this book to share how I got back to peace within myself. I wanted to share that with other women, and particularly those who are like myself, midlife and plus. Um, and we're kind of finding ourselves in those turbulent times again. So I feel like it's an important thing for women to be able to dig down deep and keep their self-care going at this time.
Beautiful. Do you feel like, because you said spiritual awakening, and I was like, my ears perked up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is that something that, I mean, this might be a weird way to say it, but is that something that you prayed for or that you were seeking out, or did you just kind of hit rock bottom and boom, there it was?
So, and I should say reawakening, to be honest, because all of my life I've been a very spiritual person. Um, and religion really never set with me. So I kind of found my own way through. Um, and so I was putting away some pictures and I was looking at this photograph of my family, and my brother Jeff was missing from the photo. And in this picture, my mom and my stepdad were in it as well. And my mom had since passed. And so as I'm looking at this picture, I was in a depressed state at the time, and I was thinking about the reasons why my brother wasn't in the picture. And I suddenly felt just this overwhelming sense of love and something different than love. And I knew they were there with me. And so I've often gone to a medium or psychic in my life because it's just the way I roll. And so I decided to go and talk with one about this experience. And she was like, oh, yeah, they were there, and told me some other stuff. And then this medium sent me an invitation for developing psychic and mediumship. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I never even thought you could learn this stuff. And I had retired. And again, the pandemic was in full swing. So there wasn't a lot to do otherwise. So I started these classes. And the first class I did, I was like, oh my God, I can talk to dead people. And so it just kind of snowballed from there, right? And I started taking classes and this and that. And then the meditating started. And once I started meditating, which I'm going to give most credit to, well, to divine first, but to meditating to be able to connect, is really the key takeaway, not to give it all away in the book, but
Spoiler alert.
yeah, exactly. but that's like the main gist of it is meditating can get you all kinds of things like, it'll reduce your anxiety, it'll reduce your depression, it'll bring more love into your life. Because I was filled with hate at the time, and now I I can only spew out love. I just feel like I can't add to the current hate of what's happening. I have to put love into the world. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, really. I mean, it tells the story of why Jeff wasn't in the picture and all of that as well, um, which is part of my reawakening, really.
Yeah. As we sage, do you mean like sage, like energy clearing? Do you tell me more about that part of the title?
So I look at sage in several different ways, actually, and that's what I love about the title is because to be a sage is to have wisdom.
Yes.
And there are ways of keeping your cognitive functioning doing well in my book. Because, as we get older, women are, there's two-thirds of the people who deal with dementia are women. And so it's an important thing. So it's a play on words for sage, as in the, saging your house or whatever. And also as we age, I feel like we sage, we gain wisdom and experience, and keeping that wisdom and experience is really important at this time in life.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a feeling it was probably both, but I needed to dig in and ask.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
It's so beautiful. I've been connecting more and more with I call her my wise old crone, and she's
Hmm.
pretty stagey.
Yes, yes, I love my crone too,
Yeah,
as I turn into one.
right? Yeah, as
Yes,
we morph.
yeah.
Um, Tell me more about the title again, because I can't remember what, as we sage.
A woman's guide to reclaiming spirit, wisdom, joy, and magic beyond midlife in turbulent times. So the magic part, I've always been a little witchy, right? This is part of my spirituality growing up. And when I was writing this, I kept looking back and thinking, wow, I manifested a lot. And I was always a goal writer too. And so now I do vision boards and all that kind of stuff as well, because I know we can change our future. We can shape our future. And as a I was a single mom going through nursing school in my late 20s, and it was a little bit tight at times when it came to money, but somehow, I'd have, like, let's say the car broke down and then there'd be a check in the mail. And I mean, it was like that. It was like I never went for want. I mean, for need. We always had what we needed, and we had a lot of what we wanted too. So I feel like there's so much magic in the world if we look at the world in a magical way and also seek the magic in our lives. It just really adds just this little spark, because I'm still amazed every time something comes through, like a sign or a symbol or synchronicity, a path opens. I'm like, oh yeah, it happened again, and I just love sitting in the awe of that sort of stuff. I
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidence. So like all you
yeah,
were just describing, I'm like, yes, it's all divinely guided. It's all, it happens in ways where you look at something and you go, how? And then it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I trust the process of life. I trust that shit's gonna get hard, but shit's also gonna find a resolutions one way or another. Like we'll figure it out.
yes,
That's just kind of how
yes.
it feels. The other word that I really stuck out to me, I knew there were a couple words. Magic was one, so I love that you went there. The other one that really stuck out to me, and it's because it's something I've been pondering for myself, but also really experiencing with clients, and that's the word joy. I feel
Hmm.
like so many people don't know what that feels like
Yeah.
or looks like or even like play with it and uncover and discover it. So I'm curious if you would speak to a little bit about well what joy means to you and kind of how that plays into the book because it's it's a loaded word which I find fascinating, but I find
Yeah.
that more and more when I talk to people, the word joy is a conundrum.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for myself, I would say it's finding that that spark in something. Like again, kind of like the awe, but slightly different. Because it brings out the happiness. Awe can just be like inspirational or even tragic, but
Sure.
joy is like when you feel the happiness happen, when you see something. And I know not every woman is a mother, but I feel like we can often still kind of get that feeling because we're all children at one time. So getting back to the kid within you and seeing like just I literally stopped and watched a bunch of ants crawling over something just 2 days ago. I was like, oh, that is so cool, just watching it. And that kind of thing is for me both awesome and joyful because I feel like there's all these worlds within worlds in our lives, right? And if we just stop to look at these things and experience what's happening and just feel it. And when I have, several joyful things that have happened in my life. So when I'm feeling like I need some joy, like literally sitting there and thinking about those things and just pulling it into my heart, pulling that joy into my heart. And it just changes my attitude for the day when I do that. And like I say, if something's gone down that's a little bit rough, and I'm like, life, and I think, well, nope, stop and think. What can make you change this perspective? And usually, it's something joyful that helps me change my perspective.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. I think pulling forward those, I don't super love this way of saying it, but I don't have another thing coming in right now. So, like pulling forward those positive aspects, whether it's gratitude or joy or even just one little happy memory that you might not define or label in any kind of way, but it does something inside that creates an opening and
Yeah.
the corners of your mouth turn up, you know?
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
you don't have to label it as joy, but you can just experience it as like, oh, this feels lighter than the heaviest state that I was just in, a few moments ago. And I love that
Yeah.
reminder to just pull forward. Like we have something in our memory that we can pull forward
Yeah.
that is a thing. And sometimes if you can't
Right.
get there, like I've had moments in my life where I've been in a pretty dark place and I can't pull those memories. They're like those files are locked, but I can drop into the present moment and just notice what's right here right now. And so I think
Yeah.
there's layers to like how we navigate life in that way, but I think that's such a beautiful thing. I'm curious, this is a little bit weird segue perhaps, but I'm curious what the process of writing the book was like.
Well, that's a good thing to ask because, well, so my meditation, I really do receive information during meditations, and it's just amazing to me because sometimes I'm like, oh, stop thinking, and it's like, no, this isn't really thinking. These are ideas coming in. So I kind of had to change my idea of how that works. Just allow the ideas to come through. And so let's see, first I was doing this whole angel meditation for like, I think it was 40 days. And it's like becoming like an angel. And I just love that. And during that time, I received information for creating an oracle deck. So I did it. And then I just feel like I was told, okay, it's time to write a book. And I had written a book about my great grandfather's art back in 2014. And I've sold a few of them. Not very many people have my great grandfather's art. So there, it's a really, really small niche, right? But it sold. So I was like, okay, I've done this before. I can do it again. But what am I supposed to write about? And so then I meditate and ideas would come in. And then I actually connected with a writing coach who helped me really, because I thought, oh, this is, one of those, this is for everybody kind of thing. I want everybody to enjoy this. And he's like, no, 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 no. You really have to niche this down. And so I did. And that's why it's a very niche title too, and it was like I really came to feel it's because I talk to women like me a lot. And
Yeah.
I see women like me in these classes I take and the events I end up in. And they're all kind of seeking the same thing. We're wanting to be with spirit. We're wanting to change our lives. We want to fulfill our purpose for our souls. And that's also something that I hit on in the book is, when I retired, I thought, oh my gosh, is gardening all I'm going to be doing now? Because an empty nester, and I just didn't have, I mean, I have my pets and all this stuff, so I had things to do, but it was like, okay, now I'm twiddling my thumbs. There's got to be more to life because I've always been pretty purposeful. Um, Having been a nurse for 30 years, that was a calling for me. And so then when I started to feel, I mean, I was like being brought to this. I could feel myself being pulled to writing this book and to doing this work. I never, if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I would be doing this work, I'd have probably laughed at you because I wouldn't have had any idea, right? And, and so just the calling and the ideas, and I'd be like, well, I don't know how to do this. So can I need a spirit guide to teach me, the technology parts. And so then I would be like, okay, go to this website and figure it out. Go to this and figure it out. And then I'd figure it out. And I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because like you said, the pathway's open. And all of a sudden I get this invitation for something that made a whole lot of sense for me to do at that time. And I go, okay, I'm going to join this class now and learn this. So I would say it was mainly given to me, and I was just the conduit for it, really. I just,
Sure.
yeah, writing it down.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, you touched on something that I have questions about now.
Okay, good, good.
Well, because I find it fascinating. So you said you were a nurse for 30 years,
Yes,
and you alluded to that. That was a big part of your purpose. Like that was
yes,
definitely a chosen, purposeful, in service for the community and the world, like purpose for you.
yes.
So I can imagine, I've never really thought about this from this perspective, but I imagine that when it came time to retire and you decided that was the choice and it was ready for the next step, how hard was that process of, like you said, I was an empty nester, I had my animals, I had my gardening, but like now what? Because if your identity is really dropped into I'm a nurse and this is what I've always done and what I've always known, and it felt aligned and purposeful, well, then when you move into that next phase, how can you like walk us through that a little bit? Do you mind sharing that? It's a vulnerable question, but I mean, you can say no.
Oh no, I'm happy to. Um, so I had been whittling down my hours for the years because I was helping watch my grandchildren when they were born. And so I didn't work as many hours as I had as a full-time nurse. And then when I made the decision to stop doing my paid work, I went to the Red Cross and volunteered. And the volunteering actually helped me through the pandemic situation as well because we were able to do some um, on virtual helping as well. And so that really helped me kind of even out.
Like a bridge.
Yes, yes. And then when I started doing this stuff and the more I got pulled to this, the more I stopped doing the Red Cross. So it really did bridge me. Yeah, because I feel like if I hadn't had that, oh, I would have been searching for something because I
Yeah, yeah, I get
apparently
it.
I just can't just sit around and sit in a rocking chair. It
I
doesn't
get
work
it.
for me.
I tick that way too. I get it. I think that's probably why I asked the question. I mean, I don't really ever see myself retiring, and I have the luxury of what I do probably makes that so that I won't have to on some level. It can morph and evolve, and it has. But I love that you had I love that it was volunteering too. What a beautiful bridge. And then what I heard in what you said, and maybe it's not true, but what I heard is that it was divinely guided, that it was placed before you and you said yes, that it sort of like magically appeared, so to speak, to bring it back to magic, and then you were willing to see it and able to see it because of like your state and where you were in life.
Yeah, yeah. And for the Red Cross part of it, I had actually looked into that years ago when I first started watching my grandkids. Um, and I couldn't figure out how to sign up. For some reason, I just wasn't finding the places to sign up. And then, as you say, when it came to that point where I just really needed something, a bridge to for my own sake, it did. I finally found the way to volunteer with them, and the rest of it definitely is divinely given with my mom and my brother coming in and then me finding that medium, and just moving forward. Because during that time when I was practicing with other people, I'd get this, oh, you're probably going to write, or you're going to write a book, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. And I was like, ha, no, no, I'm doing this for fun. I'm
Yeah.
retired. Why would I do that? And here I am.
Isn't that
So,
beautiful? I
yeah.
love sometimes the things I resist the most, I tend to make note of because I feel like it's probably going to come back around.
It's same,
It's what I've learned
100%.
over time. It's like,
Yes.
oh, I see what's happening now. Maybe
Yeah.
now isn't the right time exactly, or I'm saying it's not, but I can probably put it on my radar because it's
Yeah.
probably coming.
Yes.
I
Definitely.
just love that you trusted the process within that. And it sounds like it was through some turmoil as well.
Yeah.
Like there was some turmoil and then, source happened.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
beautiful.
Right.
I love that. So where is your book available? How do people find it?
It
How do
is
people
on.
find you? Do you work
Oh,
with people one to one as well or in
I
group?
do. I do.
Okay.
I do. So I'm a psychic medium as well as a spiritual life coach. And I'm at heart2soulconnection.com, and that's all spelled the normal way that it's spelled. And I'm also on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. I don't have as much on YouTube. Um, and the book is on Amazon
Okay, cool.
and it's on Kindle. And I just got the information today that I can start recording the audio book. So I'm excited about that. And it's also on balboapress.com and Barnes and Noble and probably other major outlets.
Beautiful. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss that part. So I wanted to
Yeah,
drop
thank
in
you.
and ask that question right away because uh and I assumed, which is I try not to do that, but I just was guessing that because you wrote the book and because of being a spiritual medium and a psychic medium and all that you probably did some other services. Will you tell me a little bit about what it looks like if somebody comes to you and wants to work with you?
Yeah. If they want to have a psychic or mediumship reading, then they connect online, and I do it all through Zoom. I can do phone. And for the people who are local to my area in Oregon, I can also go to a library and sit with them if they really feel like they want, in person. I don't have an office. And it's amazing that it all works through the airwaves just as as it does in person. So
I
that's
used to be
great.
so skeptical of that. And then like Spirit was just like, yeah, we're going to prove it to you. I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah,
I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm not resisting anymore. I got it. I'm
yeah.
listening.
Yes, exactly.
That's
And
beautiful.
yeah, and then we just decide, which kind of reading they want. And I do cards. I do tarot and oracle cards. And then if they want spiritual life coaching, I do what I call absolutely individualizing to them so that it's we talk about what it is they're looking for in their spirituality. Does religion resonate with them, or does just spirituality without religion? And how do we connect to a spirit the best for them? Because, I feel like there wouldn't be so many different religions if we didn't have different ways of connecting, but we're all still connecting to source. It's all still the same energy, no matter what we call it, right? And I'm totally into angels and spirit guides and those sort of things too. And if someone, if they don't choose to want to connect with angels, I would never force anything like that. But if they
Sure.
want to, then it's like, yeah, I'm all in because I, I really, my angels, I adore them. I adore them.
Yeah. So your psychic medium session, I guess, do you call it a session?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they, do people usually, I'm curious. I do this line of work too, and I'm always
Mhm.
interested in how people show up and what they're actually looking for. So like, do you
Yeah.
find when you do your psychic medium things, they're looking more for the mediumship part or more for the psychic part, or is it a combo?
I'll often do the combo thing with people if they, because we almost always have enough time to do
Yeah.
that. And Then I would say, honestly, it depends because, people are at different points in their lives. If they've recently lost someone or they've been really just feeling lonely for that person, or, just something has made them want to connect, of course, they'll want mediumship. But other things, someone might be having a career change or want some advice about a relationship, that sort of thing, uh, that then I'll do a psychic reading and probably a good card reading for them then too. And I don't know who is what I end up doing more,
Yeah,
but and it also depends what I'm advertising at the moment too. So I probably do
sure.
more
Yeah.
card readings, to be honest, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I just find it fascinating. I find that it seems to me like the world, I'm going to say the world, that's kind of generalized, but goes
Yeah.
in waves with kind
Yeah.
of what people are craving or what they're missing or what they're needing support in. And I find that fascinating and lovely. And then it also, for me, I guess I'm curious what your take is on this, but for me, when I see those waves and those patterns, it makes me feel and really drop into the fact that we're all connected, that we're
Yes.
not alone, that if you're feeling some kind of way, there's probably someone else out there who's feeling similar and who can understand and see you in a way that maybe the people in your direct world cannot. And for me, I find that like it feels like a hug. It feels like hope. It
Mhm.
feels like connection, I guess, is the way I would put
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like when I started doing these classes and all these other events and things, I connected more with people who think along the same lines as I do, at least when it comes to spirit. And my husband happens to be an atheist, and so he really poo-poos all of this, and it's just kind of funny because there's so many things that have happened even in his life. I'm like, how can you discount this? I don't understand. And so when I come into, with people who believe in much the same way I do, it just kind of helps validate it for me too, as well as is providing those connections. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Um, I'm back to thinking about your book because well, the intention behind all of it, at least what I'm hearing and feeling from you today, is
Hmm.
that it's like a way to connect and a way to support and a way to inspire and perhaps and maybe even hopefully a way to plant a seed of something that's never been like considered before, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that why we write
Yes.
books and put things out into the world, is so that maybe there's something that you learned through lived experience that is something that maybe someone else hasn't considered, and for some reason like they're meant to find you and they find your book and then that seed gets planted and then it changes their life in a positive way. And I think that's
That's my hope.
beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that. Do you teach classes like based on the concepts in the like your book?
Yes, that's where a lot of my spiritual life coaching comes from. Um, I have it broke out into, like, you can have an intro session to see if it's even for you, spiritual
Mhm.
life coaching. And then there are like a 3 session package or a 10 session package. And I do base it off of, it's all based off of what I've learned or what's come to me. And most of that is in my book, of course, and not all of it is, because I've learned so much even after I've, finished writing it. It's like, I love learning, and I am one of those people that feels like if you don't learn something new every day, then you just aren't paying attention.
Yeah.
and so and so yes, you're what you said is my hope is to help other women in particular find this, the joy of life, find the magic in just the everyday, make your life happy. Why not,
Yeah.
and also to, for the last pushes of your soul, what it is, why did you come here on this earth for? What is it that your soul wants you to accomplish while you're here? Um, because, I figure, all right, I'm 63, so how many more years do I have to do this, whatever it is I'm meant to do? And so this is my time to push hard. This is my time to get it done before I can't.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question pop in there and it popped right back out. Give me a
I know how
second.
that goes.
It's like every now and then it's like, boop, boop. Wait, where did you go? You were just there. What
Yeah.
happened? Okay, it's coming back. It was something along the lines of I'm curious and it's a big question.
Hmm.
But I'm wondering if you had like did you have kind of a one biggest surprise or one golden nugget on your spiritual journey? I'm speaking of specifically where you just went, "Oh wow, I didn't even know this was possible." Is there like any story around that you would be willing to share?
Um, well, I mean, just doing the initial psychic and medium classes, I did not know it was possible to develop that and to make it a something that even was stronger, and you could learn more about how to go about doing it. So that was a big thing. But also just realizing, I feel like, that people in your life, and probably even the people who are the most difficult, are the ones who we really learn the life's lessons. And I'm thinking about my dad right now because he was a very difficult father to have. And now I look at it as okay, he was playing this role in my life as the person to, and my siblings to teach us something. And what I took from it, my learning was that I don't have to follow authoritarian type leaders. And also that he did love me in spite of everything. And he really was here just to get us all on a track so that we could meet our soul's purpose. And um, and I've forgiven him for anything that he may have done for me or to me. And I've asked for his forgiveness in return for anything that I may have done to him. And that's something I honestly wish I could help my siblings get too, because they still have a lot of uh, they're held back by, and I don't want to use the word hate because I don't think it's really hate, but they just haven't gotten over our childhoods.
Yeah. When you said hate, I heard pain.
Yes, pain is a really good word for it. That's probably
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I resonate so much with that. I've found over time, uh, the life lessons that we're here for, they're always
Mm.
interesting. I'm just going to use it that way. That's very Minnesotan of me to say it that way. Interesting. They're interesting. That's how we talk here. It's like, oh, they're interesting. What you really mean is they suck and they're hard and they're challenging, but I'm just going to call them interesting.
Yeah.
But over time, I think I've had to do a lot of work within myself. And this might sound super ego-y, but I'm really honest and upfront about just stuff and challenging relationships in general, whether it be, family or friendships or coworkers, or it doesn't matter. But recognizing that how I want to receive love and to be seen and heard isn't the way everybody shows love or
Yeah.
witnesses things. And so I've come to a place in life where I recognize that while someone might not be showing me love in a way that I would prefer to receive it, it doesn't make it any less like it's still their way of showing love. And I can
Yes.
honor and appreciate that they're giving me everything they have, even if it's not enough for me, if that makes sense. Which is
Yes, it
where the
does make
ego part
sense.
comes in. I'm like, oh gosh, that feels like so ego-y. But the reality is like there are things that make me feel loved and there are things that don't make me feel loved. And if somebody doesn't have it, like if they don't show up in that way and they don't have the capacity, I can honor and see and even receive the love that they are giving me in their own way. And I
Yeah.
think I had a lot of wounds that made me reject that and not be okay with that. And I'm grateful that I've come to a place where I can appreciate that. Like,
Yeah.
the hardest people in your life might not be great for you all the time or ever even, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't some version of love there, you
Right.
know.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what I heard. That's what was resonating within your story. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel that on with so many different people in my life.
Oh yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. I talk about this in my book, but my first ex-husband. He's the father of my two daughters, my two oldest daughters. And, I realize, and he actually just passed this year. And that was interesting for me because I had just seen him in October because I went out to Illinois to visit with my daughter, and they all live out there. And I hadn't seen him for at least 15 years before this. And I told this to my eldest. I said, I don't feel like I'm going to get a chance to see your dad again. And when I saw him in October, that whole soul connection thing. I know he's one of my soul people. And when he passed, he actually came through a couple of times with mediums. And I feel now that I actually connect with him in a stronger way than I did in life. But I realized that I needed to be with him and do all those things and have all that stuff happen to be where I am now. And so I forgave him a long time ago, and I've asked for his forgiveness in spirit. Um, and yeah, we just the love that he did have for me, I see it now in a different way. Would it I have changed anything? No, I think it went the exact way it was supposed to. We weren't supposed to stay together because I would have been stunted in my growth if I had stayed with him. And so and actually, this was something I've told my daughters too. I'm grateful that we ended up divorcing. I wasn't at the time, but over time, I've realized that it really was the best answer. And uh, so I can see it way differently now that he's passed too.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful how things can evolve and transform and I don't know if integrate is the right word, but I just feel like we can change our perspective on a lot of different things in life. And sometimes the meanings that we start with aren't the meanings that we end with. And I think allowing that transformation can be really tricky and challenging, but there's something about accuracy in how we view things. And for me, that just means that my wounds and my pain points aren't getting in the way and that I can
Mm,
see it from that place of love and compassion.
mhm.
And I think that's such a beautiful thing that we can open those doors if we choose to. And I'm not saying everything is easy or that it'll always transform or that
Right.
will shift, but I'm saying that sometimes that's available to us, and it's a beautiful thing when we can sort of settle into that or witness it or hold space for ourselves and with other people, which is kind of what you're speaking about. Like that's what you do. That's what I do in our own unique ways, and we hold
Right.
space for people to connect and in ways that feel aligned with who we really are. And I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And just connecting with your soul, that's something that I've learned over this time too, to realize that when I'm talking to myself, if I present it in a way that I'm really connecting and trying to ask my soul and talk to my soul and say, hey, is this the plan? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Because I kind of think about, when the whole devil and angel on your shoulders talking to you, I do feel like it's our ego versus our soul at times, having these conversations of, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? And I've tried to really, how am I trying to say this? To really make it so that it's my soul that's talking to me. So I'm trying to
Sure.
leave the ego out, you know, um, and connecting with her more often just seems to really to make that happen better.
Sure. Yeah, or sometimes just ask the ego what it's squawking about, right? Like
Yeah,
sometimes it's just
yeah,
like, what are you squawking about? There's something there, but I can't put my finger on it. But what is there? I would like to view it through the soul's perspective as
yeah,
opposed to the squawking perspective.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
So,
curious this I don't know. Like you are a human who were and when I sit with you, I these big questions are coming in. So I don't know, like we've never had a big deep conversation before and
no,
for some reason I'm just in big question mode today.
good, good. I love it. I love
I'm
big questions.
wondering I'm wondering about so like when you get to a place, because we all have the ebb and flow of life, and
Hmm.
sometimes we feel really, really bright, and sometimes we feel a little more depleted and defeated. When you feel a little less charged up, when you feel a little less light and bright, what do you do to plug in and support and nurture yourself? Do you have sort of go-to rituals or things that you do that really support you?
Yes. And as I mentioned before, meditation, I meditate every day. I try to get at least 12 minutes, but I really shoot for about 20 to a half hour, 20 minutes to a half hour. I'll have the days when I go much longer, like an hour or so when I have the time and the bandwidth for it. Um, and so that's an absolute. Walking my dogs every day, or it's just a dog now, but every day because I need to get into nature and I used to like listen to podcasts and books while I was walking, and I about 2 years ago I just shut that down. I said, nope, we are paying attention to what's happening. And that's when I find that suddenly I'm talking to the angels or this or that's happening. And amazing things have happened during these times, like owl sightings. I'll be like, this is one of my signs, I'm like, oh, am I on the right path? Should I really keep doing this? And then an owl will be there. And I'm like, okay, I know I'm on the right path now. So if I'm starting to get the doubts start to creep in or whatever, um, that's when I kind of have to step it up a little bit more in trying to find the awe in something. Reading, I keep a success journal. I go back and I read and I say, oh yes, 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 those things did happen. That was true. And I know it happened, so I'm good. And just and also sometimes having a great conversation with somebody who I really want to talk with, it just helps bring you back up again. So and taking those moments just to make yourself remember something very joyful also does help me get out of that funk a bit.
Beautiful. I often, in workshops and things, my clients and I will build soul care toolkits, I call them. And we
Ah,
just like kind of find what you just described, the things
mhm.
that we do that we know will help us when we feel like we need to plug in and recharge, and or when we're really messy and we just need some support. One of my favorite things that you said, and it's layered, I absolutely love it. You talked about walking in nature unplugged. You talked about walking in nature, and what I heard is you're walking in nature and you're very present because you're paying attention to what's around you. You're like literally noticing the nature and the owls and all the things. Like if you're not really mindful and present when you're walking, you sometimes miss those things. So I really love that. That is like such a beautiful practice to walk and just be with yourself. And then next thing you know, you're connecting with your spirit guides and your angels and your spirit animals and earth and all of that. That's
Yes.
yeah. Because nature is always an answer. Like I've never had a class where someone doesn't say nature. And then I'm
Yeah.
always about the layers. It's like, well, yes, and how can we layer
Mhm.
that and add to it to make it our own personal practice? And I love Nature Unplugged. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And what one of my layers to that is when if I feel like I'm not if I suddenly realize I haven't been present, I've been thinking about something that was totally, like, oh, I got to get this at the grocery store, whatever it is. Then I try to do I think it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I try to listen for the sounds and I look for something that I haven't seen before. And because, it's always changing. There's going to be something new, even if it's just another flower that popped up, right? I mean, and so listening for the sounds, seeing the visuals, smelling the earth, and if I have to touch something, if I really need to get into it, it's
Yeah.
like I don't taste stuff
Yeah.
out in the forest so much, but
Probably safest.
yes, probably because there's a lot of things. But and I haven't had to do that in a long time, just because I've really gotten to this more present walking stuff. But in the beginning,
Yeah.
just to bring yourself back, it's like, okay, how many birds can I hear right now? And sometimes I'll do that just
Yeah.
for fun because if they're all stop and listen, how many? What are the sounds right now?
The other big takeaway I got from what you said, and I think it's really important, and that is you have daily practices. You plug
Yes.
in daily. You plug
Yes.
in daily with very specific rituals that work for you, and you know how to layer into that and add on to it if it's one of those days where it's a funk, you know?
Yes.
I love that. That's so beautiful. This feels like such a glorious place to wrap up. I'm curious if you have any sort of last little like if you had one inspirational or life lesson that has been profound for you that you'd like to share out with others. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be fit into the box of the question that I just asked, but just is there anything else that you want to put out into the world with this time?
I think the one thing is if you're starting to feel hate in your heart, is to see how you can turn it around to love. Just because everybody is having a difficult life. We all, and some are having a more difficult life than others. And putting the love out there is just going to attract more love to you. If you've got hate in your heart, it's going to attract more hate. So just trying to turn it around whenever you can. It's not always easy, but the best you can because it will only benefit you.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you spending this time with me today. I really enjoyed our conversation and I hope we get to have more.
Thank you, Michelle. Me too. I loved being here. Thank you for having
Beautiful.
me.
All right, that's a wrap for today.